Howdy, and welcome to Lesson 1 on Goals and Controls. In Lesson 1, we're going to explore why are clearly expressed goals important. And let's start with a leadership lesson with Albert Einstein. A few years ago, a friend shared a story he heard Billy Graham tell as the keynote speaker honoring the delegates to the United Nations in New York. Being here in New York, him saying, being here in New York reminds me of a story about Albert Einstein. Some years ago, the great thinker was on a train bound for New York City. As the ticket taker came walking through the car, Einstein reached into his pocket to retrieve his ticket, but he could not find it. He frantically searched his coat pockets, turned his pant pockets up inside out, but still he could not produce the ticket. The ticket taker said, "Don't worry, Mr. Einstein. We all know who you are. Forget about it." Well, about 20 minutes later, the ticket taker came back through the car. And by this time, Einstein was on the floor searching everywhere for the lost ticket. Again, the ticket taker tried to assure Miss Einstein by saying, "I told you not to worry about it, about the lost ticket. We trust that you purchased one, and that's good enough for us." Einstein looked up at the railroad employee and said, "Young man, this isn't a matter of trust, but of direction. I need to find the ticket because I forgot where I'm going. Do you know where you are going? Are you headed toward your destination?" Successful people know where they are going and they have a plan for getting there. Well, J.C. Penney said it best when he said, "Give me a stock clerk with a goat, and I will give you a man who will make history. Give me a man without a goat, and I will give you a stock clerk." So, in your organization, how do you define goals? May I suggest you pause this video, write down your answer to that question. Now go around and ask your employees, how would they define your organization's goals? Goals have different meaning to different people. Several years ago, my wife and I went to see the Cirque du Soleil show in Las Vegas. As you may know, Circus du Soleil is a dramatic mix of high quality artistic circus acts and street entertainment. Not long after that, I took my oldest grandson to a traditional circus show passing through our hometown. Although both qualified as a trip to the circus, the experience was vastly different. What picture comes to your mind first when I say the word circus? Do you envision the elephants, the clowns, the trapeze, the lions, and even the cotton candy? Can you just taste the cotton candy? Your description would most likely depend on your specific life experiences. In a similar way, each of us will likely have different takes on describing the word goal. If I say the word elephant, you you can no doubt clearly picture an elephant. However, what picture comes to mind first when I say the word goal or goals? You would need a lot more information, right? Well, during one on one sessions with leaders, with each of our member of our leadership team, I usually receive different answers when I ask, what are your goals? Just as frequently, the leadership team is not even clear as to what the goal is. That's not good. When answers are diverse among the leaders, the leadership and the leadership team, there is bound to be even greater uncertainty at lower levels in the organization, and for sure for employees on the front line. Normally, it can be traced to vagueness. Can people work together as an effective team if they don't have a clear picture of the team's goals? How can they maximize their feelings of achievement if they don't have predetermined goals? The achievement of which is the definition of success. Well, we can't. My good friend and mentor, Jim Lundy, would often say, if you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there. But you won't realize if you're lost. You won't know what time you arrived. You won't know the dimensions of your challenge. Others won't understand how they could help. And since you could pass right by without recognizing it, you won't get the satisfaction of having arrived. I learned in my early working years that it was important for me as a leader to pause, reflect, and plan so I knew where I was going. But I also learned that it was even more important to get every employee involved in the planning and decision making process so we could go down the right road together. Such thinking, planning, and decision making serves to clarify the direction of the entire team. Likewise, you and your team can reach your destination with greater efficiency and momentum by avoiding ambiguous goals. Just imagine that you are at a family reunion picnic and you decide to try your hand at a game of archery. You select your bow and receive as many arrows as you wish. Yet when you step up to the line, you notice there is no target in sight. When someone who is overseeing the game says, okay, select an arrow, draw your bow, and shoot. Well, what do you do next? Do you just stand there waiting for further instructions? With 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 no defined target, I bet you would hesitate to draw your bow. But let's say you shoot one arrow just to see what happens. Well, when you shoot, you learn what it feels like when the target is out of sight or undefined. Without the feedback of seeing how close you came to the target, you could not even adjust your aim in order to hit closer to the bullseye. Because there is no bullseye, you would have no way of knowing whether you've even came close to hitting the target. In other words, you could not gauge your level of success. Jim Lundy said, activity without purpose is like archery without targets. One thing I've learned is that ambiguous goals in the workplace and inadequate feedback lead to confusion and frustration. Achievement and recognition for are two of the best motivators, and leaders should provide their people with a chance to seek and achieve fulfillment in their work. But first, the goals determine where you are going must be clearly defined, understood, and accepted as reasonable in order to be fully beneficial. Employees need goals so they can correct their actions when targets are missed, and so they can feel the deserved satisfaction when targets are hit. They also need a clear path that outlines where they are going. You know, Einstein is best known for his groundbreaking work in physics, but his reaction to a lost train ticket reflects an even more fundamental truth. Knowing your destination is of the utmost importance. We can apply the same truth to our lives in leadership. So, where does your ticket say you're going? Do you have clearly defined goals in your life and in your workplace? Well, again, my good friend and mentor Jim Lundy would often tell the story about two bricklayers. Both bricklayers were asked what they were doing. The first bricklayer, who worked under an ineffective manager, replied gruffly, I'm laying bricks. The second, whose supervisor was a communicative leader, looked up with a smile and said, I'm helping build a cathedral. When your people don't know where you are going and are not involved in planning how they can get there, there is little or no meaning or purpose in their work, no feeling or recognition of achievement. Therefore, they are just laying bricks. The call to effective leadership exudes from the simple story. What would you like your employees to do? Would you like them to simply help you lay bricks? Or would you like them to enthusiastically help you build cathedrals? Well, in lesson one, we have been exploring why are clearly expressed goals important? And would you take just a moment and write down one or two action items on this lesson one of goals and controls? And this concludes lesson one on goals and controls.